What's up? Welcome into the opening line, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. Corey Paulson, the fantasy executive, my main man, Benny Ricciardi. Benny, we are, I don't want to say less than 100% today. We may have had better mornings because me and you last night and your brother and your homie, we were chilling at the FanDuel Sports Book for a couple of hours last night.
Yeah, we shut it down last night, basically. They, there was only one window. That's how you know when you stayed at the sports book too long, when there's only one window open to cash out and they weren't even accepting bets anymore. That's when you're like, all right, we got to go home at this point.
Yeah, no, Benny, when that last teller is the only person left standing, you know what I'm saying?
Yo, there was a soccer game in Iran I was trying to get down on, but they wouldn't let me bet. I was like, come on, man.
Benny trying to lay it down on Juventus before we got up out the joint. But I think we had a good night last night, a good time. The Bears was flowing. The chicken wings was good. You know what I'm saying? Ran into the homie Tommy G. Yep. There's a No Mercy pod over that joint. Make sure y'all check that out. And, Tommy G was playing the VIP area, more or less treating it like basically it looked like Tommy G was set up in his office.
I mean, isn't that pretty much his office right now? I mean, Tommy's been kind of living out of the book for the last week or so. All I know is we had some overweight guy. It was kind of cool, though. That was our waiter. And we were sitting very close to Tommy, and Tommy had some hot chick as his waitress.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that worked out. He had like his own hot chick as his waitress. I don't even know if she worked there. I think it was just some chick Tommy was sending to get him drinks and food. I don't know.
It worked out good for him. So everybody had a good time out there last night. I think the main attraction last night, what a lot of the bets were on, let me talk about it earlier yesterday, was the game in I believe Alumni Hall. Is that Alumni Hall? What is Indiana doing?
Indiana? Oh, I don't know. I don't remember the name of it. I know it's Bloomington, but I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, well, the game in, I think it's called Alumni Hall. If not,
is it Alumni? I thought Alumni Hall was St. John's.
St. John's is Alumni Hall. Yeah. Or whatever they call it, joint in Indiana. You know what I'm saying? In Bloomington with Bob Knight through the chair and all of that stuff. Y'all get what I'm talking about. The red and white team, one of the Blue Buds, the Indiana Hoosiers. Mm-hmm. And then matchup with Wichita State. We talked about and how much we like Wichita State yesterday going in there. And they come out in the first half and kind of at no point did I even really feel that the game was in doubt. Wichita State rolls on, and they'll be going to the NIT semifinals up in New York City later on next week.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, that was the bet that everybody was on heavy early. So it's always good when the first one that everybody kind of agreed on and had money on kind of hits, because then everybody's in a good mood for the rest of the night because you got some cash in your pocket.
Yeah, no doubt. You know what I'm saying? See, one thing about when you at the book, you know what I mean? See, you can be irresponsible at the book. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, we can.
Yes, because when you start lagging, when you start losing, if you're home, you're like, listen, discipline, approach, got a plan, didn't win tonight. You know what I mean? Let's keep it moving. When you're at the book and they're bringing you shots and J-Mo's is getting orders and chicken wings is going down, it's like, let's bet on that one. You know what I mean? But it was good to get Wichita State out the way early. So shout out to them. Like I said, I'm about to say Pacers. That Hoosier team has not really looked right all season long. So Wichita State goes in there and gets the job done. They got a kid from Patterson on their team, right?
Who does? Indiana?
Wichita State.
No, Wichita State. Yeah, they got a Jersey kid that's on their team from there. So we always got to root for the Jersey kid. At least me. I always root for the Jersey kids whenever I don't have a horse in the game. But yesterday we had a horse in the game because we all had money on Wichita State, so that was nice.
So they came out there. I hopped in at one point. They were plus 115 on the money line. I caught them at that point. Felt pretty good about that when they went ahead and walked them down and won the game pretty convincingly. So Wichita State will move on. Other big contest last night in hoops was the Milwaukee Bucks and the Houston Rockets. Man, Benny, it's like every week I start to believe a little bit more because, earlier, the homies are like, nah, they ain't. Wait till they win a playoff series. Let's not start putting them ahead of Boston and Toronto and Philadelphia and those teams until we see them win a playoff series. And I'm like, why can't they win the East?
I mean, you're asking the guy who actually picked them to win the East. So, I mean, I'm definitely not the one to answer that question because I've had a lot of faith in this team since the beginning of the season. Listen, I've said it before, like, coaching matters a little bit. It matters more that you have a guy who's not going to hurt your team. And bringing in Budenholzer was a huge boost for them because he's a guy that concentrates on defense. He's a guy who knows how to manage his players. I mean, he comes from the Greg Popovich school of, if I'm up 20, my star player is not going to be out there getting stats. He's going to be resting because we got a back-to-back or we got 3 games in 5 days later on this week. I mean, we've seen it all season long with Giannis is, when they get a chance to kind of let him rest, they let him rest. The thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is the level of talent they have on their team. I mean, Eric Bledsoe is a legitimate point guard. Chris Middleton is one of the better 2 guards, scoring guards in the league right now. Giannis is obviously Giannis. He's a stud. But, I mean, even like the secondary pieces, like a guy like Brook Lopez is a legit scorer in this league, and he has been for years. So you look up and down now. I mean, they brought in Mirotic. Like, you look up and down that roster, there's a lot of guys that can step up and make plays for that team. They've gotten deeper. Obviously losing Brogdon is a little bit of an issue for them, but, they've been able to cover it. Pat Connaughton's been playing pretty well off the bench. I mean, this is a very good, very well-coached, very fundamentally sound, very deep team that I'm expecting to make a run once the playoffs start.
The Houston Rockets came in as betting favorites, even though the Milwaukee Bucks were the favorite on the line. Rockets don't get it done. Rockets cover the number, so we was glad to get that one going last night too. The Milwaukee Bucks looking good right now. Listen, the playoffs really not going to start for Milwaukee until that second round series, which would probably be against a team like Boston or something like that. If Boston can make it out of the first round, right now that 4 or 5 would be Boston, Indiana. Milwaukee likely get the winner of that series right there, Benny. And that's when especially if it's Boston, that's when you're going to say, okay, that's when a lot of people are going to be betting against the Bucks. And I think that's when you hop in.
Yeah, I mean, I would be absolutely fine with that. And I honestly don't think that the first round of the East is going to be a series for pretty much anybody. I think that
Indiana-Boston might be.
I mean, right
now,
now,
Oladipo is tough, right?
Yeah, I mean, without Oladipo, I'm looking at it right now too. Like Darren Collison, they play tonight. I was looking at it this morning. Collison's listed as questionable or out again today. So, full strength, that would have been a great series to watch. Honestly, full strength, I think Indiana would have probably been maybe a 3 seed, maybe even ahead of Boston. Because right now, I got to be honest, man. You mentioned it in passing, kind of. Boston looks like they're falling apart right now. I mean, you got Kyrie fighting with the coach. You got guys in that team that are, the young guys haven't really taken a step forward. I mean, I honestly think you got better production last year out of guys like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum than you are this year. They've kind of moved backwards.
I really think that Kyrie Irving does not want to be there. I think he's miserable there. And I think that I think that he, like on July 1st, he's going to be the first person to jump ship.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I have no doubt in my mind that Kyrie's not coming back. And I think the thing that really kind of solidified that for me is the fact that the Celtics weren't willing to get rid of Terry Rozier. Mm-hmm. I really think that they're just grooming him to take over there next year and be that point guard. Now, it's definitely a downgrade, but you know what? They're going to have some money to spend. There's some free agents out there. I mean, the problem is who the hell wants to go live in Boston? So that's I mean, honestly, and I'm not saying that to be a dick. Like I'm saying that's the problem that they've had is that a lot of these free agents, listen, people can say what they want, but there are certain things that, people still believe, and people still believe that Boston is kind of a racist town.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of black players that don't want to go up and play in Boston. There's a lot of guys.
True.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys that don't want to go play in the cold weather up in Boston. Like, Miami has a lot of selling points. You basically just walk down, that road right along the beach right there, Ocean Avenue. Everybody, that's a big selling point for a free agent. You go to Boston, what's the selling point in Boston? I mean,
there is no Ocean Avenue in Boston. And if it is an Ocean Avenue in Boston, you'll probably freeze your ass off. It's not going to be models walking down the block and
there's going to be people throwing tea off of boats into the water, man. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all.
Yeah, it's a different Ocean Avenue. That's where you get your clam chowder. That's not where you see your topless models. I think it is going to be interesting. I've never even been to Boston. That's how much I'm like, I don't know what, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't even know what goes on up there. I'm not trying to go.
I mean, I've been there a couple times. I've been to Boston Garden a couple times. Honestly, I think the last time I went to Boston Garden, Larry Bird was still playing. So it has been fun for me too. Been to Fenway Park once, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, I've been to Boston for a couple sporting events, but it's not really a place that's high on my list of, vacation spots.
No, I can see that not being a vacation spot. What I will say about Boston is, as far as, people going up there and stuff, some people go up there, they ended up liking it and staying, you know what I mean? But not, like you said, I agree with you. It can be tough up there. fan base is real passionate also. And when you seem like when the fans seem like they don't want you there or you don't want to be there, the fans can turn on you. And I've heard every Boston Celtic fan, Bill Simmons actually leading the charge, more or less saying, let's get this guy out of here.
With who? With Kyrie?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, Kyrie doesn't want to be there, and it doesn't seem like they want him there. And
feeling is mutual, yeah.
Yep, exactly. So you know what? That's one that I don't think anyone's going to be surprised when he jumps ship in the summer.
Another interesting contest last night in the Eastern Conference. The Orlando Magic and the Miami Heat basically playing for that 8th seed and that division title out there. The Hornets did get a W last night, but the Hornets got a little bit more fighting to do. But the Orlando Magic on the second night of a back-to-back go into Wade County, and get a big-time W. Orlando playing good down the stretch. They're on a 6 or 7 game winning streak right now.
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing good the second half of the season in general, I mean, everything's kind of clicking with them. Some of the young guys are stepping up. We were talking about Vucevic last night and how great a season that he's had and how he's, really stepped into being like, pretty much an all-around star for this team. I mean, he's a double-digit rebound guy every night. He can score from the inside. He can score from the outside. He's a very tough cover for a lot of teams who don't have a center that can do all the things that he does or a center that can defend all the things that he does.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm looking at that team, and I think if they get any of these teams that get them, they can just be fodder for the top-seeded teams in the Eastern Conference. But looking forward to the next season, I think the Orlando Magic are a team that can make a step up depending on how their offseason flows. Obviously, tougher for them to get free agents because small market that they are in Orlando. That's the same reason why Shaq left. But when Orlando does put it together, they do have a good fan base, and they come out and they pack the joint. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Magic do. The Miami Heat, you know what? I mean, what do you expect with an aging roster? You know what I mean?
My problem with the Miami Heat is a perennial 6 to 8 seed in the playoffs.
Yep.
They don't have enough talent to make a run, but they have enough talent where they're going to beat up on crappy teams. They're well coached. I mean, I do like Spoelstra. I think he's a pretty good coach. I think he gets a lot out of the guys that they have and gets them to do what they got to do, but they just don't have a team constructed right now that's going to make a run anywhere. They don't have a team that's going to – you really would – whatever game – even last night, remember? I mean, we were talking about it. You took Orlando. You made some money on that last night. Miami's just not a team that you're afraid of. Like, you're never afraid of betting against Miami. You never really want to bet on Miami. Miami is the team that I always take the points with.
Yes.
But they're gonna stay in games. They're not gonna get blown out. They're not gonna lose. They're not gonna look like crap. But they're not gonna win all these games either. They're not gonna blow anybody out. It's like
Miami at one point yesterday, Benny. Miami was laying 5.5. Miami can't beat nobody by 5-6 points. They can't.
No. And the thing is, though, they don't normally lose to people by 5 or 6 points either. Like, all their games are close. It's 3 points here, 3 points there. And that's what I'm saying is they're a decent team, but they don't have the firepower to really be good and compete with the top teams. They're that team that you're going to beat up on the crappy teams that you play. They're going to beat the Hawks. They're going to beat all those, cellar basement kind of teams. But then when they play the Torontos and the Milwaukees and the Golden States and the Houstons out west, they're not going to beat those teams either. So they're going to be around 500 every year. They're going to be a 6 to 8 seed in the playoffs, and that's the worst thing. I mean, we saw it with the whole process and the whole idea of tanking. You either want to be one of the teams that's competing for a championship, or you want to be one of the teams that's rebuilding and stocking up so that in the future you can. Miami, to me, is just a perennial 6 to 8 seed that hasn't really moved anywhere.
I think without Dwayne Wade on the roster, I think next year I can see Miami going into tank mode.
I mean, should they? Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, this is the way sports is right now, at least in the professional leagues, is, there are a small handful of teams that can actually compete for a championship every year. And if you're not in that handful of teams, the argument becomes, is it better for you to be like Miami and make make the playoffs 6 to 8 seed, get knocked out in the first round every year? Or is it better for you to just kind of trade off what pieces that you have that might have some value, come back with a bunch of draft picks or a bunch of young players, and kind of stock up for 2 or 3 years down the road? Miami.
And you see, what a lot of these teams do is they choose we can host 2 or 3 playoff games. That's the way we can turn a profit right there. We get 2 or 3 extra TV games, them being in the playoffs. We set out the arena a couple more times. We can jack prices up for a playoff game. And that's what they're looking at. Those 2 or 3 playoff games more or less crack their nut for the season.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the way you want to go about it, that's fine. But again,
You're recycling mediocrity.
Yeah, I mean, when you won the championship, you had D Wade, you had LeBron James, you had Chris Bosh. Like, you had superstar players that could get it done and make you guys a threat. Ever since then, you've had solid play. Like, Goran Dragic is a solid player. Richardson is a solid player. Winslow's a solid player. They have like a deep roster of guys that are good. They don't have anybody who's great, and that's their problem.
Moving on with some more of the action from last night. I had a little bit of money on the Atlanta Hawks last night also. Man, I tell you what, Benny, Atlanta, they went into New Orleans and drilled the Pelicans. That line kind of bounced around a couple times yesterday, but they go in there, they drill them, they get the big-time W. Man, this Atlanta Hawk team has been playing good ball down the stretch, lead the NBA in scoring. When I look at this Hawk team, I see a team that's on the ascend, and that Trae Young, Luka Doncic, Rookie of the Year, that thing is getting closer.
Well, here's the question that I have. I mean, I'm obviously like everybody who knows me knows I'm a huge Luka Doncic fan. So for me, it's an easy question. But I like Trae Young too. The question that I have though is Trae Young the second best? If you agree with me that Luka's the Rookie of the Year, is Trae Young the second best player in this class right now?
I would say so. Who are you thinking?
No, that's what I'm saying too. I can't think of anybody else better. Like, he's so far to me, he's been better than DeAndre Ayton, who may eventually be somebody who's better, but Ayton has looked horrendous on defense this year. I mean, again, he's a young kid. I think he's only 19 and all that. He does have some offensive skill. He has been rebounding well. But to me, the two best players in this class were Luka Doncic and Trae Young. And like we talked about on one of the other shows, very few times can you look at a trade and say both teams are happy with what they got out of it and nobody really got screwed. I don't really think anybody got screwed. They both got the player that they wanted. They both got a player they're going to build around for the future. And in my opinion, the way I saw it this season, they got the two best rookies in the league right there that were involved in that trade.
If the NBA had a play-in game where like the Heat played the Hawks and that team gets the playoff spot, that would be wild.
But look at every other sport that has added that, right? I mean, the NCAA added that a couple years ago. Major League Baseball added that a couple years ago for the playoffs. Like, I mean, again, it's all about the money.
NBA version of a wild card.
Yeah, it's all about the money, right? You get an extra game, you get an extra day that everybody's watching. I mean, I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we will see a one-game playoff for the 7th and 8th seed in the NBA playoffs round, more or less like an NBA wild card game. And the wild card with this year, that team could be the Hawks because they come together at the right time. Saw an article last night where if the NBA's old lottery system, if the Hawks were the ping pong balls were to fall the Hawks way and they would get the first pick in the draft, people like Zion Williamson on the Atlanta Hawks would be Showtime Lakers.
It would be – I mean, they have some really good players there. Like, John Collins is a really good young player as well. So, the Hawks, I mean, again – they did it the right way. They tanked. They were bad. They got some of these stud rookies in there. They got rid of a lot of the guys that would made money on that team, so they got money to spend in free agency. Atlanta's not a bad play. I'd rather go to Atlanta than Boston if I'm, just talking city-wise. I mean, the weather's nicer. It's a lot cheaper to live down there. It's a much better your money's going to go a lot further than it does up in Boston. So,
yes, like you said, if it's warmer, it's nicer. The money's going to go further. The nightlife is better. So, that would work for me. That'd be an easy choice if I was an NBA athlete, considering those two. Another thing that we had a little piece of action on last night was the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers clinched a playoff spot last night. Yep. Everybody thought the Clippers were in tank mode, and now they're like better than the Lakers.
Oh, they're definitely better than the Lakers. That's not even a question. They were up 20-something points in that game. Remember that? We were like, oh, yeah. Somebody was like, oh, yeah, I got them. I forget what the spread was. It was like -2 or -3. It was something low. And they're like, yeah, the Clippers covered. We looked up and we're like, yeah, they're covered by a little. You're right. I wouldn't worry about that one.
Doc Rivers is a good coach, man.
Oh, and he always has been. I mean, he gets the most out of his team. He knows how to get them together. And, I mean, this is a team – I think the Clippers, though, are a lot like the Miami Heat. I mean, you have a lot of really good players on that team. Lou Williams is a good player. Danilo Gallinari is a very good player. Even Montrezl Harrell is a really solid player. But when you look at the names on this team, you look at the guys they have, like, they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be a 6 to 8 seed, but they're not going anywhere, right? I mean, they're not winning anything in the West.
That's true. That's true too. They won't get out the first round, but a team that people thought were tanking, especially after they deal Tobias Harris. Well, yeah. The Clippers, also in a good spot right now. So shout out to Doc Rivers and that crew. One of the highlights last night was your man in the Laker game. Your man make him dance, Lance Stevenson with the little crossover. Then he's dancing, and his teammates are going wild and crazy. At least they're having fun, Benny.
Listen, I'll say this, man. Lance is an entertaining guy. You're from the New York City area. This was a number one high school prospect when he was coming out, from Lincoln High School over there, same high school that produced Stephon Marbury and a bunch of other, former NBA and big-time Division I college basketball players. Lance has always been a very talented guy. He had one season, I don't know if you remember this, with Indiana playing alongside Paul George, where he was just like, finally all that hype and all that potential came together. And then ever since then, though, he's never really been able to repeat it. He's had good runs at times, like Memphis, those years at Memphis at the end when everybody was hurt and he was playing 35 minutes a game. He put up triple-double kind of numbers for a while. He does
those DFS nights.
Yeah, he does some good things for the Lakers when he gets a chance and he gets an opportunity to be in there. Lance Stevenson is a very talented guy. I don't think he's lived up to the potential and the hype that everybody thought he was gonna be. People were expecting him to be, an NBA superstar, maybe even an all-time great, an all-star kind of guy.
Slow down with that, but he definitely had a successful NBA career.
Oh yeah,
he's probably not going to be in Los Angeles no more with the Lakers. So it was good to see him have that moment with his teammates last night. Lance Stevenson, one of the first people, the very first event I covered in sports was the primetime shootout. I'm sure you know that tournament out there in Trenton, New Jersey. This was the year where Kemba Walker and Lance Stevenson were the headliners. Trevor Ariza also was floating around the gym.
Yeah, it's nice when you see these kids when they're young and then you see what they become a bunch of years later and you're like, man, I saw that guy play when he was 15 years old and you could tell then he was special. You could tell he was special back then.
No doubt about it. So there you go right there. Big story, not big story, but the interesting story out of Lakerland is Benny, I am a supporter. I've always been a supporter of LeVar Ball.
Okay.
Because I thought his brashness was good. I thought his brashness was entertaining. I felt as if he was trying to do it different. Middle finger to the NCAA, middle finger to the sneaker companies. Me and my boy, we're gonna do it ourselves. And everybody's like, the man is a nut. I'm like, well, he talks a good game. I get that. But now we're starting to see a total and complete breakdown of the big baller brand. Lonzo Ball not wearing the sneakers no more. Somebody stole $1.5 million from son. He even covered up his big baller brand tattoo. It looks like it's trouble in Triple B world.
Yo, there's definitely trouble in Triple B world. The cover-up tattoo, Lonzo got to give me a call, bro. I'll give him my tattoo guy because that was some bad, shoddy work right there, man.
Bad job, huh?
Oh, did you see that thing, bro? It's
I didn't see the cover.
So you know how the big baller brand was a black B, then a red B, and then a black B, right?
Yeah.
So he has it right here on his arm, and he covered it up by taking the 3 Bs and making them like a pair of dice. So it just looked like it goes in with the whole sleeve that he had there, right? The problem is they're not square. They're
round dice.
They tried to do it around the letters, so it's weird misshapen dice, and it's black, white, and red. So he kind of looks like Harley Quinn from the from the Joker Batman comic books. It's it is like I said, give me a call, Alonzo. I'll get you my tattoo guy. He'll fix that up for you because whoever did that for you, somebody stole $1.5 million from Big Brawler, and somebody stole however much money you paid for that.
You've been robbed twice. Yeah. Listen, here's the thing. They always talk family. LeVar, Lonzo, that whole crew. And obviously, my thing is, LeVar is probably upset about it, but he has to understand that Lonzo's his own man now. And I'm quite sure Mama Ball was probably you know what, leave him alone. Let him do what he want to do. Let him go out there and get his thing. It's not going to be awkward at Thanksgiving. I think that clan is tight, but Lonzo got to go out there and survive on his own, and LeVar got to figure out a way to restructure that organization if they're going to try to do anything. I know people of upper status that have ordered the sneakers, never got them.
That's a problem. That's a big problem because now you're talking fraud and stuff like that. And listen, you can make a crappy product and people are going to hate it. That's fine, but If you're taking people's money for delivery of something and you never get it to them, that's a bigger problem that's going on. So, I mean, yeah, they definitely need to get their house in order. But the one thing I will say is I'm happy for Lonzo Ball because, listen, the kid came out with so much hype, right? And, I mean, when you come out with that much hype, it's almost impossible to live up to all the hype that is coming out there. Like, he's not a bad player. The problem is when you come out and you got, the media and your dad and everybody else hyping you up like he's better than Kobe, he's better than LeBron, he's better than this. Like, you know what? Like, I always was taught you shut your mouth and you do your job and you let your job do the talking for you. And by the time you need to say something, if you've done what you're supposed to do, then you don't need to open your mouth and say something because people already know and respect, your game and what you can do out there. He's always hurt. He hasn't gotten through a full season.
The sneakers might be the thing that's hurting him.
I was just about to say that. The Lakers literally did an investigation with him to figure out if these ankle injuries are because of the sneakers that he had, which would absolutely kill whatever was left of that brand if that was absolutely the case. So, there's a lot of problems going on, but I'm happy that Lonzo Ball is going to be able to go out there on his own. Listen, he still has a good name out there. Some sneaker company will throw some cash at him.
Throw a lot of money at him.
Yeah, someone's going to throw some cash at him to do a signature sneaker or something like that. So, for him, this way he gets to put it in his pocket instead of, trying to carry a brand that, his dad was trying to build and all that and have the pressure of basically carrying the family on his back and the family's financial future on his back. I mean, the kid is young. He's still got a long way to go. I do hope he turns into the player that a lot of people think he is or think he can be, but he's not that guy yet, and he's got a lot of work to do to get there.
No doubt. I do think he's a solid NBA player, and he'll have a good, long career, but I still think it's good things ahead for Mr. Lonzo Ball, so wish him nothing but the best of luck. You're listening to The Opening Line, watching The Opening Line, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network, Corey Parson, Benny Ricciardi, as we get ready for opening day 2019. Make sure you head over to EliteFantasy.com. Sign up for your MLB DFS package. Listen, the cats over here is getting money. They know what they're doing. So you want to get down with the home team, EliteFantasy.com. Right quick, Benny, I'm going to get off on sports for a little bit, hop on a couple of these other topics. I seen this wild story about your girl Cardi B, son. You seen this joint?
Yeah, actually, my wife loves Cardi B. Like, I honestly, when the house was getting clean, I know it's a little bit scary to be honest with you, but my wife's a huge Cardi B fan. So when she's cleaning the house, she's got Bodak Yellow and all that on in the background. So basically, for those of you who don't know, basically there's a video that came out that said that Cardi B back in the day when she was broke and coming up. And
she was turning.
She was basically rolling guys that she'd sleep with guys and then kind of, roll them, take their money and kind of bounce on them and stuff like that. She said she wasn't proud of it and all that. I mean, that's a crazy story.
So 3 years ago, Instagram live video, she talking about her come up and stuff like that. And she was like, yo, you don't know what I had to do. I had to go back to hotel rooms with cats, you know what I'm saying? But she was like, yo, I would drug them, sleep with them, and then rob them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, that happens, you know what I mean? So, but now it's major backlash coming down for the girl Cardi. And my thing is this. It's not like, I don't think she was like a serial drugger like Bill Cosby. If she did it at all, she may have did it once or twice, you know what I'm saying? People are coming out now like, oh, well, charges should be pressed against her. Who gonna press charges? The John?
I was just going to say, who's going to press charges? The guy who paid her to go sleep with them is going to go to the cops and be like, hey, I hired this prostitute and she drugged me and rolled me for my, for my money. Can you do me a favor and arrest her? They'll be like, sure, sir. Can you turn around for a second? Go silver bracelet first and then we'll go worry about that.
Solicitation to prostitution, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, it's not the craziest story I ever heard. I've heard of other people who've done a lot of crazy stuff when, they're broke and they're trying to come on up. I'm sure she's not the only one who has a checkered story in their past. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but you know what? I mean, it's one of those things. At least the thing I always like about Cardi B, bro, is she's real. She's gonna say what happened. She's not gonna lie to you. She's gonna tell you what's on her mind, whether you like it or not. Deal with it.
She keep it all the way a buck, Benny. That's one thing I like about it, too. The rags to riches story, I think, is impressive. Listen, this is not somebody that came up understanding how to get money and do business and stuff like that. These are street hustlers, you know what I'm saying? I've been to some of these trap houses, some of these little, old underground spots in the Bronx. I know how these gals get down. I'm not bringing them back to my crib, you know what I mean?
It's bottomless night, man. It's one of the things. We get that text, That's an inside joke that only a couple people know, but the people who know it know what's going on right now. Yeah, I mean, you know what?
It's Wednesday too, so it's
Hey,
Girls Going Wild Wednesday.
yeah, she didn't grow up with the silver spoon in her mouth. She didn't inherit a whole bunch of money from her mom and dad. She got it. She went out and she got it on her own. And you know what? I respect that for anybody who can do that, because that's what.
No doubt, hustle is hustle. A little bit less respect for this other story that's making some waves right now. Your man Jussie, who lied on all of these people, this fake attack, yada 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 yada, invoking his Hollywood privilege out of nowhere, Benny. Out of nowhere. Son comes to court and they drop all 16 charges.
All right, first off, don't be saying my man. Don't be putting me in that category right here. I mean, listen, this is one of the problems I have with a lot of things in life, and it's not one side or the other. It's not a black or white issue. It's a rich or poor issue. It's a money or not money issue. People with money get away with murder. You can do basically anything you want if you got enough money to hire the right lawyers and, grease the right palms to get yourself out of this trouble. The average person, if they did what he did, is going to be in jail right now or is going to be standing trial and, very likely not going to get off scot-free. I mean, they brought in a grand jury. And for those of you who don't know, basically you got to bring evidence to the grand jury and say, this is why we want to charge this guy with the crime. And the grand jury says whether or not there's enough evidence. If they say, yes, you can proceed, then there's usually a criminal trial. That's what happened here. So There's usually a criminal trial that follows after a grand jury comes back and says, yeah, there's enough evidence here. There's more to this story, Corey. I don't know what it is. I don't know.
This story's wild.
I don't know if there's there's obviously some politics or something involved in there. I don't know how it happens. But for him to walk away scot-free from this thing, I don't think it's a very good look, and I don't think we've heard the end of this story.
Chicago politics, Chicago police, Chicago everything has always been corrupt. Chicago's always been gangland. It's always wild stuff behind the scene that goes on in the city of Chicago. What I found interesting is, like, the police department, the mayor, everybody came out like, yo, what the F is going on? And the state attorney general was like, charges dropped, that's what's going on. So it looks like a palm got greased. It does look that way, like a favor called in. The thing about it is, who called in the favor is the story now. And everybody's like, well, what if it was the big homie? What if it was the head honcho? What if it was Michelle? What was it, one of the Obamas, because of the connection right there? I don't want to get involved into conspiracy theories. Somebody did grease a palm. Somebody did call a favor up there in Cook County. That Cook County jail, Benny, you know what I'm saying? That joint, the TMZ might as well stay at that joint. You never know who's going to roll up in there.
Yo, if you live in Chicago and you need a job, man, just be a celebrity gossip column, something or other, because every day there's somebody famous going to jail up there. But, I mean, you said it. I don't know what happened. But like I said, we're going to hear more about this story because, people are going to start digging into it because it's just been such a big deal. And then all of a sudden to just drop it and walk away like, yeah, nothing going on, no big deal, like nothing to see here. Like, no, there's definitely something to see here. So, it's just another one of those things we got to sit through the media talking about and, Fox News telling him that, he should be killed and CNN saying, no, he's fine. He's a good boy. He's a choir boy.
Such bullshit.
As we know, the truth always lies somewhere in the middle of the two extremes.
Exactly. The truth is not on MSNBC or Fox News or CNN. The truth is somewhere right there on your local newscast when they all break it down and when they do it without leaning towards a certain side. I see the tweets and stuff like that because I would never put Fox News on. But one of the tweets was like, this kills the theory of white privilege. And I'm like, let's slow down a little bit.
I mean, again, I'm going to go back to it. I don't think it's as much a black and white issue as people are trying to make it. I think it's more of a money issue. It's a green issue. It's exactly what it is,
Money and clout. It's status. Yeah, that's what it is.
If you got money and you're famous, you're going to get away with a lot more than, the average guy on the street who did the exact same thing that you did that would probably wind up in jail.
Listen, if you can phone a friend, go ahead and phone a friend, but you know what I'm saying? Not saying that we agree with it or it needs to go down that way. Jabril Peppers, man. Yo, son, if Dave Gettleman traded for a dude that's about to, go to the slam or be in some trouble by the NFL, I'm talking about these New York Giant fans are going to hit the roof, son.
Oh, man, there's other Giant stories out there, too, that we could talk about, which is why I love this right now as a Jet fan who for 30 years of my life has been sitting here listening to all this bad stuff. Now, from what I read of this, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I thought they said that he wasn't charged with it, he wasn't
I think so.
Directly involved, or what's the deal?
He's not going to be charged with anything, but I think it was a gun. But I think the gun might have been used in a homicide. He may have had the case to the gun. I think he had a backpack with some knapsack with some weed in it or something like that. The cops kind of was like, yo, son, it's like the police in Cleveland, when they got the backpack, they found the weed in it, and they was like, yo, throw the weed away.
Yeah.
Here's the backpack, son. Like, son, wow.
I mean, again, the way the story read to me was that he wasn't going to be charged, so it wasn't him directly. But I mean, still, like, if you're an NFL player, I mean, we talk about it all the time. You gotta surround yourself with the right kind of people, right? And I'm not saying that you can't bring your homies with you who you grew up with. I mean, I'm a firm believer in wherever your roots are, you should be taking care of your people and stuff like that. But there's a time to go and hang out with your boys afterwards when things are done, and you want to do some dirt. Then you want to, get yourself in trouble. Fine, that's good. But right now, you're making millions of dollars. These other guys are not making millions of dollars.
They're living off of you.
What was it that Ray Lewis said, or the whole thing with the Ray Lewis? Like, you need a fall guy, right? Like, I forget who the pundit that said that was. You need somebody in your crew that's walking around with you, that's carrying the book bag that has the weed and the gun in it. Yeah. You making millions and millions of dollars should not be the guy doing that. Because if that guy gets arrested and goes to jail, you can easily pay for the lawyer and pay his bail and get him out and take care of his people until he gets out of there. If you go to jail, your whole crew's in trouble because now that you lost the cash cow. So, guys, be smart about it, man. Get yourself a bag man if you're a millionaire.
Get a bag man and get a cat that'll punch somebody in the face for you too.
And you know what? They could be the same dude. If you want to save some money, let it be the same dude. But
if I ever get to that level, my guy's gonna be this. My bag man and my face puncher is the same cat. I'm
gonna go. Well, I know it's very easy for me. I'm gonna go find an MMA fighter who is like,
nice.
Doesn't have any upside left in his career, but can still beat 99% of the population's ass if I needed him to for me. That's going to be the guy that I bring on. I'm going to be there. I'm going to make sure he doesn't speak English either. I'm just going to be like, yo, chill. Go ahead. Go get him. And that's it.
That's it. Pitbull, go get him. A little more NFL news, pass interference. Now, the way I read it, Benny, is a non-call on a pass interference can be reviewed.
Yes.
Does that mean you can review an actual pass interference call also?
I don't think so. I mean, I read it the same way you did. We actually saw it pop up when we were at the sports book yesterday. We were kind of talking about this a little bit. I want to read into the rule and really understand it before I talk too much on it. But
I agree.
The way I looked at it is if there's a situation where, like a pass was thrown and you think there was interference, you can challenge whether or not it was interference, and the referees will go look and decide whether or not it was. And I think when we were having a discussion at the table last night, the most important thing that was said was this is going to make games longer because you know that and even the end of games, especially, like there's going to be a day where we're sitting at the sports book watching football next year, Corey, and the last play of the game is going to happen and it's going to be a no call and we're going to start celebrating about cashing a ticket, and then a little red flag is going to come out and we're going to be sitting there for 15 minutes while they figure out whether it was or it wasn't. And there's going to be at least one time where they go and they overturn that call, and there's going to be no time on the clock, and they're going to put the ball on the 1 yard line because the play happened in the end zone, and somebody's going to wind up scoring a touchdown, and it's going to swing a bunch of money one way or another, and people are going to go crazy.
That's going to be wild, son. It's going to be wild. I can see a situation exactly like that happening because now throwing the Hail Mary at the end of the game, the pass incomplete. There's pass interference on that play.
Automatically. There's no reason not to. It's like automatic. Last play goes up. It turns out to be an incomplete pass. Even if it's not a Hail Mary, even if you're just on like the 20-yard line and you throw a pass to the end zone and it's incomplete, you're going to throw the flag, which means every game is now going to be, instead of just ending the game and celebrating the win or the loss or whatever, now it's going to be a 5-minute review and people talking about it. And I don't know, man. I mean,
I understand, like, Benny, with the game coming in, the situation with the Saints last year. I don't think you need to react to everything that goes wrong. Like, okay, it's not like every NFL playoff game ended in that kind of controversy. One did. So why are we changing the rule because of one?
And, when I was growing up, my coach used to always say, like, you lose a game by 2 points and you're blaming somebody who made a mistake at the end of the game, we can go back to the first play of the game and go through every mistake that every one of you made. We said it the other day. You don't lose that game if you're winning at that point, and that play doesn't mean anything. So there are 100 plays that happened before that last play.
The Saints could have killed the clock. The drive before, the Saints could have killed the clock.
That's what I'm saying, is there are 100 things that could have happened leading up to that play that could have changed the outcome and made this a complete non-issue. But because it was a high-profile game right at the end of the game, and I think, didn't somebody sue over it? Somebody who wasn't like one of the states involved sued or something? People just went a little bit overboard on this stuff. And I agree with you. It's kind of reactionary, and it just feels wrong.
Yeah, I don't like it, but I think the NFL was kind of pressured and forced into this one. Obviously, that in the game situation in the NFC Championship was not a good look, so we'll see what ends up happening with that. Don't forget, tomorrow it all kicks off. MLB season opens up. EliteFantasy.com. Go get your season-long DFS package. Get it for the month. Get it for the whole year. We got you covered over here. My main man, Benny's going to be hopping over that side once he's done with the basketball stuff. So make sure you get in there and get involved. Benny, let's get ready to hand out the big pieces of chicken and get up out of here and get ready for the day. Right quick before the big piece of chicken, I am laying the 3. The only bet I'm making today because I did too good last night. And the more you bet, the more you're going to lose. You know what I'm saying? You just not going to. I'm not Vegas Dave. I don't hit 75%. Benny.
Yeah. The luck is going to turn at some point. We did have a good day yesterday. So
what I will do, I'm going to lay that 3.5 with State tonight. I've been talking about North Carolina State all week. Been looking forward to this game. State a cash day ticket, make a trip up to Madison Square Garden. So I'm laying that 3.5 with the Wolf Pack tonight. You got any games you like before your big piece of chicken?
So you actually talked me into the NC State game last night. And, if you play on the sports books in New Jersey, they give out a lot of this bonus money, these free bets and stuff like that. I woke up this morning. I don't even know what I did to get it, but I wound up with free money in my account for some free bets. So I threw it all on NC State today because I didn't really like anything else. And I'm not betting NBA at this point of the year because there's just too much. Yeah, there's a few games I'll take a look at if it's like two teams that
going to the playoffs.
Play for, and yeah, exactly. And the spread is reasonable, and I really think one team is better than the other. But for the most part, be careful betting NBA basketball right now because, even yesterday, like you got guys sitting out that you weren't expecting to be sitting out. And
the Pistons down the stretch.
Yeah, there were a lot of weird things that happened. Minnesota and the Clippers turned into a 20-point game in the second quarter. Like, I was like, how did that happen? So there's a lot of weird things going on in NBA right now. But, hey, NCAA is fine. And really, I'm saving my money, Corey, because you know what? Thursday we got NCAA tournament back. I'm not as big in the NIT. I know you've been following it a lot more than I have. But I'm saving my powder. I'm saving my ammo for Thursday.
There you go. So we'll get that covered, get that rock and roll, and also got the baseball coming. My big piece of chicken I have to give to one of my favorite athletes, if not my favorite athlete of all time. I actually had a chance to meet him one time, but I know he's going through a tough time right now. My main man, the dope man, the playmaker, Michael Irvin, who is being tested right now for throat cancer. Michael Irvin's father actually passed away because of throat cancer. So Michael Irvin is sitting in the hospital right now. So obviously, being a Dallas Cowboy fan, growing up in that era, heart and soul of those Dallas Cowboys team was the playmaker, as most people call him. I call him the dope man. I never forget when Michael Irvin got caught with that cocaine in the limousine. When he came to court, Michael Irvin came to court with the shades on and the mink dragon. And I'm like, son's wearing a mink in Dallas. It got to be 400 degrees down there. So my big piece of chicken goes out to my favorite, my GOAT, my guy, the greatest of all time. In my opinion, I got a chance to meet him and shake his hand. That's my main man, Michael Irvin, the dope man.
Yeah, so I'm giving my big piece of chicken today to, the Irish assassin, the MMA fighter, Conor McGregor, who announced his retirement yesterday. Now, I don't know if he's really retiring or not, to be perfectly honest with you, but this is why I love Conor McGregor, because he's one of those guys that he understands how to play the game. He understands how to promote himself. He understands how to get his name out there, even when it shouldn't be out there. His last fight was not all that great. He's not somebody that I'm really looking forward to getting back into the ring, but I do want to give him the big piece of chicken today. He announced his retirement. He was a lot of fun to watch. He was a good champion for a while he was out there, and he did his thing. He made his money, and he entertained us. So anybody who entertains us, they get a big piece of chicken when they retire.
There you go, my main man, Conor McGregor. What the fook? You get a big piece. Just look at this little piece of chicken, man. My main man, Conor McGregor. Listen, don't forget, subscribe to the Guru Elite YouTube channel. Make sure you get the videos alike, and make sure you hop in Elite Fantasy right there so that you get that covered. Get ready to get your MLB season started. For my main man, Benny Ricciardi, I'm Corey Parson, the Fantasy Executive. We'll be back tomorrow.